KTTV.
KTTV, is that right?
What to do, KTTV? This is KT, and I'm coming at you live with another episode of the Daily K Podcast. And on today's episode, I have the owner, founder of the Content Creator Studio, and former educator, Coach Jen Liddy. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm good. It's 8:30 East Coast time, so I'm like, I've been waiting, so excited for this all day, trying to stay awake for 8:30.
Look, and I'm talking about really on those days. I'm telling you, as I get older, that time starts to creep back. It used to be I can give you a 10:30. Now, about 7:38, I'm really trying to start shutting it down.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Now, before we jump into things tonight, I always like to do just a wellness check.
Mm-hmm.
As it's been crazy out here. So how are you and how have you been doing during this pandemic?
So, God, do you realize we're coming up almost going into our third calendar year starting? I mean, March is next month, and it's just amazing to me where we are. I would say 2021 was a tough year energetically. We had COVID in our house. A lot of other things happened, and I feel like it took me like almost until December to get my energy back, and even January 2022, like I'm just getting back to being, I feel like, who
Wow.
I am.
Wow.
So I know so I'm a highly extroverted person, and somehow the pandemic, like I accidentally became an introvert. And so I'm like trying to deal with, how do I be an introvert when I used to be an extrovert? I'm just trying to get my energy back to where it used to be.
Well, the first part of it is recognizing that things have changed. So now, but I do understand about that. And I have some friends who are introverts, and so they was like, "Oh man, this is perfect," you know. But for the people who are those social beings, as I talk to people, it was tough, just being able to manage that mentally. As I did a lot of Wellness Wednesdays, that was one of the main struggles. But I'm glad you did make it to the other side.
Me too.
Man, it was real. So now in education, and we'll start there thinking about the precursor to the Content Creator Studio.
Yeah.
I have so many educators that are entrepreneurs. I have some that have taken the leap, decided to go full time. Thinking of that moment, what point made you decide to go with the business full time, and how did that transition go?
It's such a great question, because I was really scared when you're an educator. So I'm in New York State, I'm in upstate New York, and in New York State, we have our retirement system, and there's this promise that at the end of the road, you're going to get your retirement if you just hang in there. But I got to the point where every couple days, definitely every week, I would be in the shower. I don't know why it always happened in the shower, but I'd be like washing my hair, and I'm like, I don't really want to, I can't do it today. I don't want to do it. Or I don't want to come in tomorrow or whatever. And I would be thinking like that self-negotiating of, do I make sub plans? Is it worth the pain in the neck of making sub plans, or do I just go in and do the job? And I realized how often I wasn't in love with it anymore. I felt really beaten down. I felt I just felt like I wasn't having fun with it anymore. And I loved teaching. I loved teenagers. I loved everything about it. And then I just got burned out, and I was like, there has to be something else. And so it was just the days where I felt burned out outweighed the days where I felt really excited and energized by it. And the other thing that happened, no lie, was I looked around at my colleagues, and they were miserable, and they were saying things like, I only have 14 more years, and I only have, 3.5 more years and 17 days. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be at the mercy of that golden, the retirement that you were supposed to get.
I'm with you. I am, as you look to things, and during that pandemic, a lot of people were able to just live out their dreams and kind of say, I want to start that business. And so, even this year, I was faced with the decision of, okay, it's time to move, time to do something. But then do you take that leap? And so for me, it was, man, I wasn't ready to leave the kids. Like, and
Mm.
so I was at a crossroad then. Now, as you left and you said, okay, well, now it's time to go. Did you go through that too with like the students like,
Yeah, because my students would say things to me like, "Mrs. Liddy, like, you taught me how to think. Like, yeah, how am I gonna learn how am I gonna think next year if you're not here?" Or my colleagues would say, "I can't believe you're going. Like, what are you risking? Are you crazy? Like, you're giving up your paycheck every 2 weeks, so you don't even know what you're walking into." And
Mhm.
the only really positive thing that I had was I live with a man, my husband, who understands entrepreneurship, and
Yeah.
he was saying, "You can do this. We can make this work." And I think because I had him in my ear, that was the one kind of beacon saying, "No, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, and you can take that leap." But it was really scary because as a teacher, I remember thinking this, like, I'm just a teacher. I'm only a teacher. Like, there's nothing else I can do except teach. And now on the other side of that, I would say like teachers make incredible business owners. They're incredible entrepreneurs because they can problem solve, they meet people where they are, they can make anything work.
Mhm.
And but at that point I really didn't have the confidence that I could be a business person. I felt like an idiot all the time.
Man, and that's it. You never think those skills transfer, but oh boy.
They do.
That's wonderful. So jumping into the content creator studio, as I look at the work, it's I want to say exclusively, but I will say the focus, the target are women, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Mhm.
so I guess in talking about the studio, give us a little bit of background on it and why did you choose to go women only?
That's a great question. So when I left teaching, I jumped into becoming a co-owner in a brick and mortar fitness studio, and that's where I really cut my teeth on what it was like to be a business owner. And my job there was communications, operations, and that's where I basically had to learn marketing. And I was really afraid of marketing, and most people are, because when you're a teacher, you're like you don't have to market yourself. You just like walk into your classroom every day and do your job. And then when I left that brick and mortar fitness studio, I was pretty burned out. And I really wanted to help other business owners just stop making the same mistakes that I made, but also realize like if I can learn marketing and content, anyone could learn marketing and content. So I was like, how can I help people who want to learn how to do business and are what I noticed, and this was from my fitness studio clients.
Mhm.
We had tons of entrepreneurs coming through, and I was always at the front desk, and they always had, and our demographic there was women. Right. It was a fitness studio that was mostly used by women. So these are who I was talking to all day long. And all day long, I would hear women who were like, I've got to get this done. I've got to get this done. Or I have this idea and I can't make this happen. And I was like, ooh, I am really good at making things happen. I'm not a huge idea person, but I can make things happen. So I kind of just started by working with my clients at the fitness studio and saying, hey, you've got an idea. I'm really good at action. Let's work together and we can like kind of put the rubber to the road and get some traction here. So it started out with women because that's who I was encountering every single day and that's who I was talking to, and they would just share their problems with me and I just like understood them very deeply, I think. So that's how it just morphed into a business where I mostly work with women entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Just finding their need and saying, okay, I can help. Right. I
Yeah.
just so
Yeah,
happen
yeah,
to be
yeah.
the women. That is it. So on the flyer, I put content, because that is what we're talking about.
That is.
So starting with digital content,
Mhm.
I think about the world post lockdown when so many people who were entrepreneurs became to understand like that is like the television or that is the commercial space on social media or making sure you're creating this content in all forms. So when you coach your clients, what are some ways that you help them to even begin to have that mindset of let me make sure I get such and such amount of content out each day?
I love the way you asked that question because we come to content thinking we have to be a commercial. We come to content comparing ourselves to that. But what our content really needs to do in 2022, especially, this isn't 2014 or even 2017, like, people are smart and they're exhausted and they don't want to be sold to anymore, but they do want to be connected with. So if we can stop thinking, the mindset shift is stop thinking of our content as a commercial and start thinking of it as a way to connect. That is the way in. And it doesn't look like, hey, I'm here, la, la, la. This is what I'm doing, like kind of flashing, like, like a crazy Eddie, kind of like, this is me, this is me. It's really like, hey, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I know what you're feeling. I know you're probably dealing with X and Y and Z, and this is how it's rippling effect through your life. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I actually could help you if you wanted some help. Here's like a free thing, or it's all about developing a relationship, but you have to connect. Like any real relationship in our lives, we have to connect in a way that feels good to us and to the other person. And that first shift of like, oh, it's about connecting. And then the second shift is you get to do it in the way that feels good to you. So you don't have to co-opt somebody else's language or style or branding or whatever.
That I was going to ask, what was that first step? But mindset, and then, like you say, learning how to do it and what's good for you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And I have so many people who are always afraid of creating. What will they think, or how would this look? And so they never do it.
I know.
But yeah,
I know.
So,
So that little inner critic that lives in our brain and says, who are you? There's already 1,000 yous out there. Like they're all doing it better. They're all, you're at chapter 1 and they're at chapter 27 in their journey. And there's like every single day you could wake up and think, I don't want to put myself out there. And in fact, I was just having this conversation inside the studio with my clients the other day, because they were like, when do you stop feeling afraid and you finally put yourself out there? And I said, I kind of have bad news. It's not that you stop feeling afraid. It's that you just become friends with the fear and you do it anyway. Like, it's not about conquering the fear. It's about having courage, which means you do it anyway.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of little things you can do to manage your inner critic. But ultimately, there are going to be people who don't like what you have to say or how you look or how you sound. And that is part of the price that we pay to be entrepreneurs and have the freedom that we want. Like, the reason you get into entrepreneurship is because you want freedom and you want money and you want creative freedom. And but when I was in my classroom, I never had to market myself, but I didn't have any of those freedoms.
Yeah.
And P.S., my kids in my classroom didn't always like what I had to say either, but I kept showing up for them.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's all right. We will be back tomorrow.
Yes, right.
That's it. So I'm thinking about programs like Canva, Post on My Wall, right? How do entrepreneurs take advantage of websites like these to push their content out? I guess without the time that it takes to create it from scratch.
It's a great, whether you're using words or visuals, like for Canva, or the captions that you're going to use. A couple of things are really important. You give yourself permission to not reinvent the wheel every single day. So if you are using Canva for your visuals, what if you had a template and you plugged in the pieces that you wanted? You've got your brand colors, but you're not starting from scratch every single day. I had a client who would spend hours creating from scratch on Canva. And I'm like, why are you doing that? She's like, because I don't want my audience to get bored. And I said, your audience only sees a fraction of what you put out there anyway. Believe me, they are not absorbing every single thing. And if they were, having your brand identity out there and have it be similar, it's a way of identifying you, right? Like, I'm sure, like, I'm looking at our podcast right now. You've got your Daily K podcast at the top, your KTTEV down at the bottom. Like, this is how people know this is you, right, Kendrick? Like, we don't need to reinvent this. So that is one of the permissions that I really like to give people is, first of all, make it easy on yourself. Don't worry that you're going to bore your audience. You're not. And give yourself permission when you're writing something, make it short. People don't have time or the capacity to absorb long, captions or emails or whatever. They really want a bite-sized nugget.
Yeah. Get it in. Get out of there.
Get in
Hey,
now.
that's it. Awesome. Now, all of this content, all of this work, all of these templates make no difference if you're targeting the wrong people. And so, hey,
You're
so
singing my song.
I'm telling you. So entrepreneurs can be helped with this. I think you got it in two ways: a free course, or you got the consultation. And so, in thinking about that beginning piece, is there like some self-reflection tips that you can give entrepreneurs to maybe ask themselves, am I targeting the right people?
Yeah. I will say about 95% of the people I meet who are really struggling with their content, their foundational problem is they're trying to speak to everybody. I work with women in their 50s. That is a lot of people. Like, what is it about these women in their 50s you're talking to, right? Like, so the best thing to do is talk to the potential exact right person that you like want to help solve their problem. I will tell you, this is a thing that people absolutely hate to do. You can call it anything. You can call it target market research, customer discovery, ideal client chats, interviews, whatever you want to call it. Basically, you want to have a conversation with those people who are dealing with the problems that you want to solve. And you ask them questions. And then the miraculous thing is they actually tell you in their own words what their problems are. And it becomes content gold. The best example I have of this is when I left that fitness studio. I wanted to start right away. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to help creative women like avoid burnout and stop feeling so stressed out about their business. So I started doing these interviews. They never, ever, ever used the word burned out or stressed out. They used words like overwhelmed, frazzled, disorganized. So can you imagine if I tried to build my whole brand on being, I'm going to stop you from burnout? They'd be like, that's not my problem. I don't have a burnout problem.
No burnout.
So the really some easy questions that you can, when you take the time to do these interviews, first of all, record them because you're going to want them word for word. Second of all, when you ask the people the question, just let them answer. Don't fix it for them. Because as educators and coaches and helpers, we like to solve a problem. But the third thing is just ask some really simple questions. What's frustrating you with fill in the blank of the thing you work on? What types of solutions have you already tried? What worked? What didn't work? What kind of solution are you looking for? And then the most important question is, how would you like it to be? If you solved this problem, how would your life be better? That question right there is absolute gold. And then all of that just becomes what you talk about in your content.
So with that goal question, I'm gonna dig just a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of maybe an answer, and then how would you respond? Like, if that's not too much of the.
What do you mean?
Like, let's say, for instance, they said my life would be better by more.
Oh yeah.
Such and such or something.
Okay. So I would say if you could get your business idea out of your head, or let me just use what I'd use now. Like if you could create content consistently, how would your business be better? And they could say something like, oh, I'll be happier. I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? It would mean I would make more money. Okay. Why would that make your life better? Because then I might feel like my husband doesn't look at my business like a hobby. And I don't feel like somebody's patting me on my head like, isn't that cute that she has a business that's like a hobby? Now I've got like juicy gold, right? Now I'm like, oh, you want to get your content out in the world so you feel like a real business person and not like a hobbyist where people actually respect you. So it's just kind of like digging a little bit deeper every single time.
What they call that in teaching, getting the root analysis. Just getting to it.
The other thing is, I remember when I was learning how to be a teacher in graduate school, they taught you wait time, like tap the side of your leg and just like ask the question and then tap and wait for the answer.
Man, that's it. Awesome. So another part of this is not reinventing the wheel, is repurposing content, right?
Yes.
Look, I'm here. So now
you get me.
So and that was what I was going to say. When coaching clients to do that, How do you relay the importance of repurposing their content, and what steps do they need to even begin that process?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to sometimes convince people to repurpose because especially in like a corporate setting or even in an educational setting, like you don't repurpose your stuff from day to day because you've constantly got a group of like 27 kids in front of you who are scrutinizing everything you're doing, right? Like I remember I couldn't even wear an outfit twice because they would remember like, oh, Mrs. Liddy, you already wore that last week, right? So
Crowd.
I have to sometimes convince people that it's okay in marketing because it's such a noisy marketplace.
Yeah.
Not everybody sees anything anyway. So I like to remind my clients, first of all, like 1 to 2% of our audience is seeing anything on socials organically. 1 to 2. So that means if you even have a hundred followers, 1 to 2% of those people are seeing it.
Mhm.
So you're kind of doing them a favor to say it again in a different way,
Mhm.
take a little nugget out and like maybe you wrote a paragraph, but maybe there's one amazing sentence in that caption that you could repurpose again. People are scanning. They're not like reading deeply. Like we might fall in love with our own stuff, but nobody's reading our stuff that
Mhm.
deeply, right? Um, so that's the first thing that first of all, it's like permission granted to repurpose in the first place.
Yeah.
Then when you're thinking about the hows, it's really important to think about which platforms you want to be on. Like, what are your home bases? Where do so for me, my home base that I create everything from is my podcast. And then I repurpose it in a lot of different places. I can turn it into a blog so that I can drive people to my website. I also turn it into an email that's much more intimate. So I like chop it way down from my email.
Yeah.
So I send that to my audience every week, my list every week.
Mhm.
And then I can also take some of those gems from the podcast and I can use them as audio, video, and written clips on different social media platforms.
Amen.
So I just want to make sure everyone understands like repurposing does not mean splattering it everywhere.
Mhm.
It kind of means being judicious about like, where do you want to be
Mhm.
and how do those people need to receive it and
Yeah.
how can you best just like we talked about before with the visuals on Canva and with the
Yeah.
how can you just tighten it up and make it consumable for people on
Mhm.
their chosen platforms.
Man, that's it. Just getting it to the right place. Wow. And so now I recently started doing some work with some funnels, right? Set up my first funnel, repurposed some content. So I took pretty much my course on podcasting and growing into profit to the book. So now it's an ebook. So as we work through the funnel, you hit the book, then you hit the course. Have you tried any of that market, and do you kind of coach clients that way?
Yeah. So some people when they come to me, they're really uncomfortable with the idea of a funnel. And it sounds scarier and more complicated than it is. But basically it's like, where do people meet you the very first time and how do you kind of move them through a journey or a relationship with you? That's all that a funnel is. And when you can understand that it's not scary and you get to decide what your funnel looks like, then that gives so much empowerment to people. So maybe your funnel is like, okay, I have a 3-part meditation recording that I offer people on social media. When they opt into it, they get on my email list and then they go through like a nice welcome sequence. And then I offer them a free yoga class at the end. But basically, it's all about just earning people's trust as they move through this funnel or journey. But different funnels work for different people. Like I don't have a book funnel, but that's what you've created for yourself. And that's, like, isn't it so great that we all get to do a different funnel based on what works for
Based
us?
on what works for you, man.
Yeah.
And I like you say though, the beginning of the podcast, I remember starting 2019, no experience, no background on editing, marketing, anything, right? I had a microphone in between me and one of my friends on his porch, and that was my first podcast. But I was coming from a triumph. I'm in a tragedy, and so now to be able to understand 2 years later, like the social media and just running all of these accounts and really just putting everything together and learning so many pieces, it is scary. But when I tell you the knowledge base that I have from just learning that is able to be sold like you're doing. But man, just awesome. And so thinking about the free things like you're putting in that funnel on your website, you're giving ton of things away for free. for entrepreneurs. So talk to us about some of those free resources and
Sure.
which ones are some of the most popular.
Yeah. So I want to say first of all, your journey about like having an idea and a microphone and turning
Yeah.
it into what you've turned it into today.
Yes.
What I love is like you're acknowledging that it was a journey, because a lot of people online are saying, hey, buy my program and in 6 weeks you're going to be making 6 figures. And I just feel like that is a huge lie perpetrated against entrepreneurs, and it just like really enrages me.
Mhm.
So on my website I have lots of options for people to get to know me, because I'm a teacher, so there's lots of different trainings on there. Just things I wish I knew at the beginning that aren't behind a paywall. You want to learn how to do the interviews that you and I talked about, those ideal client interviews. There's a training there that you can find. Like there's everything.
Yeah.
But don't get overwhelmed with so what entrepreneurs do tend to do is like they download too many freebies, and then they have a freebie graveyard on their computer. So my most popular ones are that how to get inside the mind of your audience, which is that how to do target market interviews. And the other most popular one is my content planner, my customized content planner that gives you it's a really customizable system, not like a plug and play, not a content calendar where you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's a customized tool that you can create content in a way that works for you, for your specific audience. Those are my 2 most popular ones.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Oh man. So much work. Yeah, but thinking about that, oh man, content.
Well, I always say content it can feel like a treadmill.
Mhm.
It can feel like you're just got that carrot dangling in front of you and you're going nowhere. But it really doesn't have to feel that hard if you kind of do all the things that we talked about today. Give yourself permission to be on the platforms that feel good to you, reuse things. And also like one of the most important things I say to my clients is please don't fire hose your audience with everything you have to tell them about a topic.
Mhm.
If you take one topic and you bust it down into 4 or 5 mini topics, that's 4 or 5 weeks that you've just 4 or 5 x'd your content right there. So it's those kind of tweaks to your content that make it feel less treadmill-y, I guess. That's my goal.
The treadmill. I like
The
that.
treadmill. Yeah.
So as we get ready to close this out, for anybody who's afraid of making content or either really second guessing, I guess, what tidbits of motivation and confidence can you give those listeners?
I'm going to repeat something a client said to me yesterday, because like I said, we were talking about this fear of showing up, and I was talking about, there's a lot of things that even I am afraid to show up and say, because there's other bigger names who are doing what I'm doing. And Sherry said, Jen, can I unmute myself and just tell you that we were waiting for you in your special way. And you, as a content creator, have that out there waiting for you. Like people are waiting for you to say it in your very you kind of way, no matter what you look like, no matter how your hair looks tonight, no matter whether you put makeup on, whether you have 10 pounds to lose, whatever it is, like people need to hear it from you with your words and your flavor and your flair. And so there's somebody out there dying for what you've got, but everybody else who's got the same thing to offer, like it doesn't resonate with them. So I swear there's people waiting for you.
Man, that's powerful, Coach. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's so great to have this conversation with you.
Man, and so how can we find you?
Oh, yeah. So I am on the socials at Jen Liddy Coach. I'm a 1N Jen, so just Jen. But you can also go to my website and download that planner at jenliddy.com/content planner. You can find everything on my website at jenliddy.com. This is a great question.
Yeah. So what if you have all of your content but not sure where to place it?
That is a great question, Sheila. And I get this question all the time because there's 2 camps of people. I don't know what to say, and I'm not doing it because I don't know what to say, or I have all the things to say and I don't know where to put it. So my first question for Sheila is, first of all, where do you like to be? How do you like to present content? Like if you're a talker, podcasting is something that you should do. If you hate writing, why would you do a blog, right? Like, so we have to start with the places that feel good to us. If you are not somebody who like feels comfortable on TikTok, it's okay. Don't be on TikTok. So first of all, that's the permission you need to give to yourself. The second question is, where is your audience? Like my audience, I could probably find some customers on LinkedIn, but I hate LinkedIn because it feels super boring to me. I cannot find my mojo on LinkedIn. So I just kind of ignore LinkedIn. But there's a nexus between where you love to be and where your audience is, and start there and give yourself permission. Like, I don't have to be every place. I just start on one platform and really find your audience there and speak their language. And it's all about giving yourself permission to go deep instead of going wide, especially at first if you don't have a team.
That's it. That is.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that is.
Sure.
And Sheila, she's so awesome. She has her podcast, the CEO Circle. So she works. So of course she got that good content. I was on there last week, so I know.
Oh, nice.
She got some good content.
I'd be happy to go on her podcast and talk all about it with her if she wants to.
Hey, see, there you go. So I will definitely get that connected right there. That's so awesome. There we go. That's what it's about. All right. So give us the contact information one more time.
Sure. www.jenliddy.com. You'll find everything right there at the homepage. Or on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook at Jen Liddy Coach.
All right. I think that will do it for us. I want to say thank you again for taking some time.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and for being so open. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing on top of the work that you do all day long in the schools.
Yeah, I appreciate
it's amazing.
It's fun, Coach. Like I say, you think about it, a lot of the times we work hard, but at the same time, it's for us too. Like we get our cup filled from that same work that we're doing from the information, So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
KTTV.
KTTV.